The first contact war of the year was 2157, when the alien fleet arrived at Earth's edge. Commander Vex of the Titan Empire led a massive armada of sleek warships that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. The aliens called themselves the Titans, a proud warrior race that had conquered dozens of worlds across the galaxy. Captain Stone commanded the human defense fleet from the bridge of the Defiant, Earth's most advanced battleship. The humans had only recently developed faster than light travel, and their weapons were primitive compared to the alien technology. Their ships were bulky and slow, built from steel and basic alloys. The battle began near Jupiter's orbit. Commander? Vex watched from his command throne as human ships charged forward in desperate formations. He almost felt sorry for them. The Titans possessed energy shields that shimmered like liquid silver around their hulls. Their plasma cannons could slice through human armor like paper. "These humans fight with honor," Vex admitted to his second-in-command, watching as another human cruiser exploded in a ball of fire. "But they are children playing with toys." Captain Stone gritted his teeth as reports flooded in. The courage was gone. The Liberty was breaking apart. His own ship shook under plasma. Fire, sparks flying from damaged systems. The bridge crew worked frantically at their stations, sweat dripping down their faces. "Sir, we've lost 60% of the fleet," his tactical officer reported. Stone looked at the tactical display. The alien ships moved like dancers. Their formations perfect. They targeted human ships with surgical precision, always hitting the weakest points. It was clear that Commander Vex was a military genius. The battle lasted 3 days. Human reinforcements arrived from Mars and the Moon colonies, but it made little difference. The Titans adapted to every human tactic within hours. When humans tried ramming attacks, the aliens simply moved aside. When humans used nuclear missiles, the alien shields absorbed the explosions. On the final day, only a handful of human ships remained. The Defiant drifted in space, its engines dead and hull breached in a dozen places. Captain Stone stood on his damaged bridge, looking at the alien fleet surrounding them. Commander Vex opened a communication channel. His image appeared on the human screens, a tall figure in elegant armor, with 4 arms and golden eyes that seemed to glow. When he spoke, his voice was deep and commanding. "Humans of Earth," Vex announced, "you have fought bravely, but this battle is over. Surrender now, and your people will be spared. Continue to resist, and your world will burn." Stone looked around at his surviving crew. Young faces stared back at him, waiting for orders. The communications officer was barely 18. The weapons officer had joined the fleet straight from college. They were so young, and they had fought so hard. "What are your terms?" Stone asked. "Simple," Vex replied. "Earth will become a protectorate of the Titan Empire. Your people will serve us as workers and soldiers. In return, we will protect you from other threats in the galaxy. This is more generous than most conquered worlds receive." Stone felt his heart sink. He had no choice. The alien commander had completely outmatched them. Every strategy, every desperate plan had failed against Vex's superior tactics and technology. "I accept," Stone said quietly. The surrender was broadcast across. Billions of humans watched as their greatest heroes admitted defeat. The alien ships moved into Earth, orbit casting shadows over the major cities. Titan soldiers landed at spaceports and military bases, their advanced weapons making resistance impossible. Commander Vex established his headquarters in what used to be the United Nations building. He ruled with an iron fist, but kept his word. About protecting humanity? Under Titan rule, crime disappeared and disease was eliminated. The aliens shared some of their technology, but always kept humans in a subordinate position. Captain Stone was allowed to live, but his military career was over. He became a civilian, working in a factory that produced components for Titan ships. Every day he remembered the battle and his failure to protect Earth. But Stone was not the only one who remembered. Across the planet, humans began to whisper. They talked about the battle, about how bravely their soldiers had fought, about how close they had come to victory in those first few hours. They remembered every detail of Commander Vex's tactics and every weakness they had spotted in the alien ships that the humans began to plan. They would serve the Titans for now, but they would also learn. They would study alien technology, master their fighting styles, and prepare for the day when they could strike back. Commander Vex had won the battle completely. But he had made one crucial mistake. He had allowed the humans to live, and humans never forgot a defeat. 20 years of preparation, 2 decades passed under Titan rule. Commander Vex governed Earth from his orbital station, watching over a planet that seemed perfectly peaceful. Human cities grew larger and more efficient under alien guidance. The resistance movements of the early years had faded away, replaced by what appeared to be complete acceptance of the new order. But appearances could be deceiving. Dr. Mills worked in the research division of the former NASA facility, now called the Terra Scientific Complex. Officially, she studied atmospheric conditions for Titan industrial projects. Unofficially, she led a secret network of scientists who had spent 20 years reverse engineering alien technology. The network had grown slowly and carefully. Former Captain Stone, now calling himself simply Jack, recruited members from factories and maintenance crews. These humans worked directly with Titan equipment every day, learning how the aliens built their ships and weapons. The plasma conduits use a crystalline matrix we've never seen before, Dr. Mills explained to a small group gathered in an abandoned subway tunnel. But we figured out how to grow similar crystals using Earth materials. The group included engineers, physicists, and former military officers. They met in secret locations across the globe, sharing information through coded messages hidden in routine work reports. The Titans never suspected that their human servants were learning their deepest technological secrets. Jack had aged considerably in 20 years. His hair was now gray, and lines marked his face. But his eyes still burned with the memory of defeat. He coordinated the resistance from his apartment, sending messages to similar groups on Mars and the moon colonies. "We're not ready yet," he told his closest allies. "But we're getting close." The humans had learned that Titan technology relied heavily on a rare element called nexium, which the aliens mined from asteroids. More importantly, they have discovered that nexium could be destabilized using specific electromagnetic frequencies. If they could build the right equipment, they could turn the Titan's own power source against them. Meanwhile, a new generation of humans had grown up under alien rule. These young people had never known freedom, but they had inherited their parents' hidden anger. They worked in Titan facilities, served in auxiliary military units, and studied in schools where alien history was taught as fact. Lisa was one of these young humans. She worked as a technician on Commander Vex's orbital station, maintaining the computer systems that controlled Earth's defense grid. The Titans trusted her completely. She had been born after the conquest and showed no signs of rebellion, but Lisa's parents had been resistance members. They had taught her to watch, listen, and remember everything. She knew the layout of every critical system on the station. She had memorized guard rotations, security codes, and emergency procedures. One day, while performing routine maintenance, Lisa discovered something that made her blood run cold. In the station's databanks, she found records of the Titan empires. Expansion plans. Earth was just the beginning. The aliens intended to use human soldiers in their next conquest, a peaceful world called Haven that had no military defenses. That night, Lisa sent a coded message to her contact on Earth. Within hours, the resistance network was buzzing with activity. The humans had always known they would eventually fight back, but now they had a deadline. They could not allow the Titans to turn them into weapons against innocent people. Dr. Mills accelerated her research. Working around the clock, her team completed the first prototype of a nexium disruptor, a device that could shut down alien tower systems. It was crude and untested, but it was a start. Jack began reaching out to resistance cells on other worlds. The Titans had conquered 17 different species, and some of them had never stopped fighting. If the humans could coordinate their rebellion with uprisings on other planets, they might have a chance. The plan began to take shape. They would need to strike simultaneously at multiple targets: Titan command centers, weapon factories, and communication arrays. Most importantly, they would need to capture or destroy Commander Vex himself. As long as he lived, the Titans would never give up Earth, but the humans faced a terrible problem. They were still vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Even with their new weapons, they could not match the Titans in a direct fight. They would need to use cunning, deception, and the element of surprise as the third decade of occupation began. Both sides prepared for the coming storm. Commander Vex continued his routine inspections, unaware that his human servants were sharpening their knives. The humans continued their daily work, hiding their burning desire for revenge behind masks of loyalty. The stage was set for a confrontation that would decide the fate of Earth and every world under Titan rule. The Hidden Blade, the signal came on a cold morning in March. Lisa's fingers trembled as she typed the activation code into the orbital station's maintenance system. After 23 years of preparation, the human resistance was finally ready to strike. Across Earth, hidden weapons came online. In the depths of Dr. Mills' laboratory, banks of Nexium disruptors hummed to life. In factories throughout the globe, human workers suddenly abandoned their posts and ran to secret weapon caches. Former Captain Jack stood in a hidden command bunker beneath the ruins of the old Pentagon, watching as decades of planning came together. "All units report ready," his communications officer announced. The man was Tom, a former fighter pilot who had spent the last 20 years working as a mechanic. "Mars colony confirms, Moon base confirms. The other resistance worlds are standing by." Jack nodded grimly. They had one advantage the Titans had never expected: patience. Humans had proven they could wait, plan, and prepare for longer than any other species in the galaxy. Today, that patience would be tested. Commander Vex was reviewing supply reports when the first alarms began to sound. His aide, a nervous Titan named Kor, rushed into the command chamber with urgent news. "Sir, we're detecting power fluctuations in the Earth's defense grid. Multiple systems are showing failures." Vex frowned. In 23 years of occupation, the humans had never caused serious technical problems. They were efficient workers, if somewhat slow to learn new concepts. Send repair teams to investigate. But as Kor tried to contact the surface, he found that communication links were failing one by one. Vex's golden eyes narrowed as he realized what was happening. The humans were not having technical difficulties. They were attacking on Earth's surface. The first phase of the rebellion was already underway. Teams of human saboteurs emerged from hiding places in every major city. They carried crude but effective weapons, plasma rifles built from stolen Titan technology, explosives made from industrial chemicals, and the precious Nexium disruptors that could shut down alien equipment. The Titan garrison never saw it coming. For over 2 decades, they had grown comfortable with human submission. Their guard towers were staffed by bored soldiers who spent more time playing games than watching for threats. Their weapons were locked away in armories that seemed perfectly. SECURE Dr. Mills led the assault on the primary command center in New York. Her team moved through maintenance tunnels they had mapped years earlier, carrying disruptor devices that looked like simple toolboxes. When they reached the center's power core, she placed her hand on the activation switch. "For everyone who died in the first battle," she whispered. Then pressed the button. The Nexium disruptor sent a focused electromagnetic pulse through the building's power grid. Instantly, every Titan weapon and defense system went dead. Emergency lighting failed. Communication arrays went silent. The aliens inside found themselves trapped in a dark building with no way to call for help. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In London, former military officers stormed a Titan weapons depot. In Tokyo, resistance fighters seized control of the orbital communication relay. On Mars, human colonists who had pretended to be loyal workers for 23 years suddenly revealed hidden arsenals and began coordinating attacks on Titan. Mining operations dot, but the most crucial target was Commander Rex himself. Lisa moved through the orbital station's corridors with practiced ease. She had walked these paths thousands of times as a maintenance worker, and she knew every shortcut and hidden passage. The station's security systems were down, victims of her own sabotage programs. But she still had to avoid the Titan guards, who were starting to realize something was wrong. She reached the command section, just as Vex was trying to restore communications. The tall alien commander stood at his control console, his forearms working frantically at different panels. He looked up as Lisa entered, and for a moment their eyes met. "You," Vex said, recognition dawning on his face. "You're the maintenance technician?" Lisa raised the plasma rifle she had built from stolen components. "My name is Lisa Chen. My parents died in the first battle, fighting for Earth's freedom." Vex's expression shifted from surprise to something that might have been respect. "So, the humans never forgot after all. I should have expected this." "You should have," Lisa agreed. "You taught us everything we needed to know about war. You just forgot to teach us how to forgive." The plasma bolt took Vex in the chest, sending him crashing to the floor. As the alien commander died, his last thought was a grudging admiration for the patience and determination of the human species. Across the galaxy, other resistance movements received the signal that Commander Vex was dead. The revolution had begun in earnest. The tables turned. News of Commander Vex's death spread through the Titan Empire like wildfire. On 17 different worlds, conquered species who had waited decades for this moment suddenly rose in coordinated rebellion. The humans had done more than just free Earth. They had sparked a galactic revolution. Jack stood in the recaptured command center in New York, watching as reports flooded in from across the solar system. Mars was free. The moon colonies had driven out their occupiers. Even the asteroid mining stations had been liberated by human workers who had seemed completely loyal just days before. "Sir, we're receiving communications from the other resistance worlds," Tom reported. "The bird-like people on Kepler 442b have taken their capital city. The underwater dwellers on Ross 128b have destroyed 3 Titan fleets. Everyone is asking for coordination." For the first time in 23 years, Jack allowed himself to smile. The humans had not just survived their defeat, they had turned it into the foundation of victory. Every lesson they had learned from Commander Vex, every piece of technology they had stolen, every tactical weakness they had was now being used against the Titan Empire. But the war was far from over. The Titans still controlled most of the galaxy, and they had vast fleets that could crush any single world. The key was to keep them off balance. To prevent them from concentrating their forces. Dr. Mills had established a new research facility in the liberated UN building. Her teams were working around the clock to improve their Nexium disruptors and develop new weapons. The device that had shut down the New York Command Center was already obsolete. Her latest models could disable Titan ships from orbit. "We need to move fast," she explained to Jack during a strategy meeting. "The Titans will adapt to our disruption technology within months. We have a narrow window to press our advantage." The window opened when Long-Range Scout Fleet 7 arrived at Earth's edge. Admiral Kex, Commander Vex's younger brother, led 12 massive warships that had been sent to investigate the loss of communication with the occupation force. He expected to find technical problems or perhaps a small uprising that could be easily crushed. Instead, he found Earth's defense grid back online and under human control. The same orbital platforms that had once protected Titan supply ships now targeted his fleet with weapons that seemed impossible. The humans had somehow learned to build plasma cannons that matched Titan technology. How is this possible? "Admiral," Kex demanded as his flagship shook under human fire. "These primitives couldn't even threaten us 23 years ago." His tactical officer, a veteran named Zul, studied the battle data with growing alarm. "Sir, Their targeting systems are too accurate. They know exactly where to hit us. It's as if they studied our ship designs for decades. Because they did, Kex realized with horror, my brother, he let them work on our ships. He let them maintain our equipment. They learned everything. The Battle of Earth's return lasted only 6 hours. The human fleet, now equipped with weapons that could penetrate Titan shields, systematically destroyed Admiral Kex's forces. The aliens found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn by commanders who had spent decades studying Titan tactics. Lisa, now promoted to Admiral of the Orbital Defense Force, coordinated the battle from the same station where she had killed Commander Vex. She wore a simple uniform marked with Earth's flag, but her eyes held the cold efficiency of someone who had learned warfare from the best teacher in the galaxy. Target their command ship, she ordered. Focus all fire on the bridge section. The concentrated plasma barrage shattered Admiral Kex's flagship. As the great ship broke apart, escape pods scattered in all directions. Most were captured by human forces, but a few managed to reach hyperspace and carry news of the defeat back. To the Titan Empire. The news that reached the Titan homeworld was devastating. Earth, the primitive world they had conquered with ease, had not only freed itself, but had developed weapons that could match their own. Worse, the humans seemed to be coordinating uprisings on dozens of other worlds. Emperor Grix, ruler of the Titan Empire, called an emergency session of his war council. The ancient Titan leader had conquered more worlds than any other being in galactic history, but he had never faced anything like this coordinated rebellion. How many worlds are in open revolt? He asked his intelligence chief. 47 confirmed. Your Majesty, perhaps more. The humans seem to have established communication networks we never detected. Grix's forefists clenched in rage. One small defeat had become a cascading disaster that threatened the entire empire. The humans had taken his brother's teachings and turned them into weapons against their former masters. Prepare the Grand Fleet, Grix commanded. We end this rebellion personally. The final victory, the Titan Grand Fleet, was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 500 warships converged on the Sol system, led by Emperor Grix himself. Aboard the massive dreadnought, Eternal Dominion. The ship was 10 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire worlds, but the humans were ready. Jack stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Defiant, now Earth's flagship and symbol of human resistance. Around him, the combined human fleet had grown to nearly 1,000 ships, not just Earth vessels, but craft from Mars, the asteroid belt, and even some captured Titan ships that had been modified with human technology. All allied fleets report ready, Tom announced. The resistance movement had grown beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Ships from 47 different worlds had gathered to defend Earth, all united by their shared hatred of Titan oppression. Emperor Grix gazed at the assembled human fleet with a mixture of rage and grudging respect. These primitives had somehow managed to turn his greatest military victory into the foundation of his empire's downfall. Commander Vex had been a fool to let them survive, but Grix would not make the same mistake. Today we end the human plague. Once and for all, he declared to his fleet commanders. Show no mercy. Leave no survivors. The final battle began at the orbit of Jupiter, where the first human defeat had taken place 23 years earlier. But this time, the humans were not the desperate defenders fighting with inferior weapons. They were the attackers, armed with technology that matched or exceeded anything the Titans possessed. Dr. Mills had made one final breakthrough in the days before the battle. Her new Nexium disruptors could not only shut down Titan ships, but could actually overload their power cores, turning them into bombs. As the battle began, dozens of Titan vessels simply exploded without warning. What's happening to our ships? Emperor Grix demanded, as his tactical display showed massive explosions throughout his fleet. The humans have weaponized our own power systems, his chief engineer reported in horror. They're using our Nexium cores against us. But the Titans were not helpless. Emperor Grix had brought his most experienced commanders and his most advanced ships. As they adapted to the human weapons, the battle began to turn into a grinding slugfest between two equally matched forces. The Defiant dueled directly with the Eternal Dominion in the heart of the battle. Jack faced Emperor Grix in the same way. Captain Stone had once faced Commander Vex, but this time, the human commander had every advantage that decades of study could provide. You learned well from my brother, Grix admitted as the two ships traded devastating blows. But you are still just apes playing with tools you don't truly understand. Jack's response came in the form of a precisely targeted plasma barrage that tore through the dreadnought's shield generators. We understand enough, he replied, calmly as the battle raged. Something unexpected happened. The other species that had joined the rebellion began to demonstrate their own hidden capabilities. The bird-like avians revealed that they had developed cloaking technology. The aquatic depths emerged from hyperspace with ships that could phase through solid matter. Every conquered race had spent decades preparing for this moment. Emperor Grix realized with growing horror that the Titan Empire had created its own destruction. By conquering so many worlds and forcing them to work with Titan technology, they had given every species the tools needed to fight back. The humans had simply been the first to figure out how to use those tools effectively. The tide of battle turned when Admiral Lisa led a strike force directly at the Titan command ships, using the same maintenance tunnels and service corridors. She had memorized on the orbital station. She had studied the design flaws in every major Titan vessel. Her ships knew exactly where to strike for maximum damage. One by one, the great Titan warships fell silent. The Eternal Dominion tried to retreat, but human ships surrounded it on all sides. Emperor Grix found himself in the same position Captain Stone had been in decades earlier, facing certain defeat with no way out. Surrender, and your people will be spared, Jack offered, echoing the words Commander Vex had once spoken to him. Emperor Grix's response was to activate his ship's self-destruct sequence. The Titan Empire dies with honor, he declared. But as the Eternal Dominion exploded, it marked the end of more than just one ship or one emperor. The Titan Empire, which had dominated the galaxy for centuries, was broken. The surviving Titan fleets scattered to distant corners of space. Leaderless and demoralized, the humans had done more than win a war. They had liberated an entire galaxy. The species that had been conquered and enslaved were now free to rebuild their civilizations. And at the center of it all stood Earth, no longer a backwater world, but the heart of a new galactic alliance built on freedom and cooperation. The defeat that had once seemed so final had become the foundation of humanity's greatest victory. The Titans had taught them to fight, and the humans had learned the lesson too well. Asterisk.